November 14, 1944. Kurt Tank sits in the cockpit of an unmarked prototype, flying from Langenhagen to Cottbus, carrying only blueprints and performance reports. Unarmed, alone, then his radio crackles. Two American P-51 Mustangs, 12,000 meters behind you, closing fast. Tank glances at his fuel gauges. The rear tank, 85 gallons, sitting directly behind his seat, like a bomb, is completely full. His methanol water injection system is armed and ready. He does the math. The Mustangs are the fastest thing America has, but Tank knows something they don't. This isn't a standard fighter. At this altitude, his prototype is 50 miles per hour faster. Tank pushes the throttle forward, engages the boost, and watches them become distant dots. They never fire a shot. When he lands and describes what happened, the Focke-Wulf engineers aren't surprised. They've created a monster, a high-altitude interceptor, so advanced it makes every Allied fighter look obsolete. There's just one problem. It's November 1944, and Germany has already lost the war. This is not a story about victory. It's about engineering perfection, arriving at the exact moment when perfection no longer matters. A weapon so brilliant, so technically superior, it should have changed everything, but it arrived 9 months too late. Only 43 ever flew combat, and by the time the first squadron became operational, Germany had already run out of everything except desperation. If you love engineering stories, if you want to understand how technology works and why it sometimes doesn't matter, hit that like button. This isn't typical war content. This is about solving an impossible problem perfectly, but solving it too late. Subscribe for more deep dives into the technical truths that shaped history. The crisis began summer 1943. American B-17s were bombing Germany in massive daylight raids, flying formations at 25,000 to 30,000 feet. The Luftwaffe had fighters, the Bf-109G and the Fw-190A, but both gasped for air at bomber altitude. Their engines, brilliant below 20,000 feet, lost power catastrophically above 30,000. German pilots watched helplessly as bomber formations flew overhead, just out of reach, dropping thousands of tons of bombs on factories. They needed a high-altitude interceptor immediately. In May 1942, the Air Ministry called a meeting. The requirement was brutal. Design a fighter for 40,000 feet, carry enough firepower to destroy a bomber with one burst, stay agile enough to dogfight escorts. Messerschmitt proposed an elongated Bf-109 with a larger wing, conservative, incremental. Kurt Tank proposed something radical. He'd transform his Fw-190D into a completely different aircraft. Wings extended 50% longer, a liquid-cooled engine with a 2-stage 3-speed supercharger, pressurized cockpit for altitudes too thin to breathe, and devastating firepower, a 30mm cannon through the propeller hub plus two 20mm cannons in the wings. A 2-second burst, delivering more explosive power than a Spitfire could fire in 10 seconds. The Air Ministry approved. Development began late 19... The first prototype flew October 1944. Test pilot Hans Sander took it to 45,000 feet and reported something shocking. The aircraft wasn't just functional at extreme altitude, it was dominant. At 41,000 feet, with boost systems engaged, it could reach 472 miles per hour. The Mustang, America's best escort fighter, topped out at 437 at 25,000 feet and struggled to reach 410 at 40,000. This new fighter was 60 miles per hour faster at bomber altitude, climb rate 3,500 feet per minute, better than the Mustang's 3,200. Service ceiling 48,000 feet. B-17s maxed out at 35,600. Most formations flew at 25 to 30,000 because that's where accuracy was possible. This interceptor could climb above them, dive through the escort, destroy the bombers, climb back to safety before Mustangs could react. It was perfect, exactly what Germany needed, and it arrived January 1945, 4 months before total collapse. The first production models were delivered to Jagdgeschwader 301 on January 27th. 11 aircraft at Altenau Airfield. Veterans who'd flown 109s and 190s for years climbed in and were stunned. The pressurized canopy was revelation. At 30,000 feet, where most German pilots froze and suffocated, they sat in heated comfort, breathing normally. The control harmony, the way it responded, was perfect. Long wings gave it a turning radius matching a Spitfire at altitude. The engine, with boost engaged, produced 2,050 horsepower. Oberfeldwebel Willi Reschke wrote in his logbook, "This is what we needed 3 years ago." March 2, 1945. 12 fighters scrambled to intercept a massive American raid targeting oil refineries. The pilots climbed to intercept altitude, ready for their first combat. Then something absurd happened. A formation of Bf-109s from another unit, unfamiliar with the distinctive long-wing silhouette, mistook them for American Mustangs and attacked. The pilots spent their first combat mission not fighting Americans, but evading friendly fire. Superior climb rate and maneuverability allowed all 12 to escape. But the Americans, warned by chaos on German radio, diverted their bombers. No contact with the enemy that day. Over the next 2 months, Jagdgeschwader 301 flew approximately 40 combat missions. Results were mixed, not because the aircraft was flawed, but because by April 1945, the Luftwaffe had ceased to exist as a coherent force. Germany had no fuel. Synthetic production, 180,000 tons monthly in 1944, had collapsed to 10,000 tons by March 1945. The high-performance engine required high-octane C3 fuel. Most airfields no longer had it. Pilots flew on inferior B4 fuel, reducing performance, causing overheating. Germany had no pilots. The 3-year training program that produced legendary aces had collapsed. Rookies arrived with 60 hours total flight time. This aircraft, with its pressurized cockpit, complex boost systems, high-performance handling, required experience. Rookies barely managed takeoff and landing. They had no chance in combat. Germany had no spare parts. The engine was precision engineering requiring constant maintenance. The supercharger was temperamental. Oil cooling needed monitoring. In peacetime factories, manageable. In April 1945, with Allied armies overrunning territory and factories bombed to rubble, maintenance became impossible. Aircraft sat grounded because a single component couldn't be replaced. Despite this, the new fighter scored at least 7 confirmed victories before war's end. 4 credited to Oberfeldwebel Josef Kahle, 3 to Oberfeldwebel Willi Reschke. The most famous engagement, April 14th, Reschke, flying Yellow 1, intercepted 4 British Hawker Tempests near Ludwigslust. The Tempest was optimized for low altitude, fast and deadly below 15,000 feet. Reschke engaged them low anyway, worst possible scenario for a high-altitude interceptor. In the dogfight, Reschke shot down Warrant Officer Owen Mitchell's Tempest. Mitchell's aircraft, damaged by cannon fire, lost control during a hard turn and crashed. Reschke returned, guns jammed, aircraft damaged, alive. It was the greatest moment of glory, a high-altitude interceptor, proving it could win even in the environment where it should have been vulnerable. But it changed nothing. 3 weeks later, May 8th, Germany surrendered. The final accounting is heartbreaking from an engineering perspective. Total production, including prototypes, approximately 150 units, only 43 production models delivered to operational squadrons, 7 confirmed victories, 4 losses in combat. Kill ratio barely positive, 1.75 to 1. The Mustang had 19 to 1 in Europe. But the numbers tell the wrong story. This wasn't engineering failure. It was a masterpiece at the wrong moment in history. If it had entered service early 1943, it would have changed the air war. B-17 formations at 25,000 feet would have been massacred. Thunderbolts and early Mustangs would have been helpless against something faster, climbing higher, carrying devastating firepower. The Luftwaffe could have inflicted unsustainable casualties, potentially forcing the Allies to abandon daylight strategic bombing entirely. But in January 1945, none of that mattered. Germany's industrial base was collapsing, the Ruhr under Allied occupation. Fuel plants were rubble, experienced pilots dead or captured, a perfect weapon in a nation without resources to use it. After the war, the Allies captured several. British Royal Navy test pilot, Captain Eric Brown, flew one extensively at Farnborough. His report is still studied today. He wrote, "This is the finest high-altitude piston fighter I have ever flown. Climb performance exceptional. Handling at altitude superb. Stability excellent. Had this been available in 1943, it would have been a game-changer." Americans tested, captured examples against their own P-51H Mustang, the ultimate Mustang evolution. At altitudes above 40,000 feet, the German fighter was faster, climbed better, more maneuverable. American test pilots concluded it was technically superior to any Allied piston fighter at extreme altitude. But they also noted something crucial. By 1945, the war was no longer fought at extreme altitude. Allied bombers, with complete air superiority and overwhelming escort, could bomb from any altitude. They often bombed from 15 to 20,000 feet because accuracy was better. The altitude advantage was irrelevant. This is the story of German engineering in the final years. Brilliant, innovative, technically superior, completely disconnected from strategic reality. Germany kept designing perfect weapons for the war they'd lost 2 years earlier. The May 262 jet flew 100 miles per hour faster than anything Allied, but engines lasted 10 hours before exploding. The Tiger II tank had impenetrable armor, but broke down constantly and consumed fuel Germany couldn't produce. The Type 21 U-boat could stay submerged indefinitely, but entered service April 1945 when Germany controlled no ports. The fastest, most advanced piston fighter of World War II. At 48,000 feet, nothing could touch it. But by the time it flew, the war was being decided on the ground by Soviet tanks rolling toward Berlin and American infantry crossing the Rhine. The sky above 40,000 feet, where it was invincible, was empty. Kurt Tank survived the war. He emigrated to Argentina, continued designing aircraft for decades. In interviews late in life, asked about his creation, he said, "We built it too late. If we had built it in 1943, maybe. But in 1945, we were designing masterpieces for a war already over." That's the lesson. It's not enough to build the best weapon. You must build it at the right time. Germany proved you can have excellence, brilliant designers, skilled workers, cutting-edge technology, and still lose because you ran out of time. It beat Mustangs above 40,000 feet, but only 43 flew combat, and the war ended before they mattered. Engineering perfection is worthless if it arrives after the war is lost. If this showed you the gap between technical excellence and strategic reality, leave a comment. Tell us where you're watching from. Tell us if you're an engineer who appreciates what Tank created, or if you see the tragic irony of building a masterpiece too late. Thank you for being here.